Formula One
Mhm.
season 2026 is upon us. And yeah, we just want to. Obviously, we've got a new team that's joined this season, the Cadillac team. Is that correct? Cadillac, off
Yep.
the top of my mind. And then, yeah, we're just going to go into one. I already know Rafa's favorite driver slash all-time driver, but he'll elaborate for you boys. And in terms of like, how do you see this upcoming season with the regs this season, the rules, how the teams have looked in preseason for you? Because I know like you keep a very keen eye on that. And then we'll eventually ask who you've got winning the championship, team and driver. But yeah, in terms of the upcoming season, how do you feel with this particular one? And how do you feel the previous two seasons actually have led to this season coming up?
I feel I don't know actually how to feel about the season. I feel it's not just a reg change. I feel it's a actual racing change. The drivers had to change the way they race the car. That's the same in the previous rule change as well, but I feel this is different. I feel it seems like from what the drivers are saying, that it all really it also depends on the driver. So the driver should make more of a difference in this new reg set. Some drivers have complained, some drivers have said other things. So I feel like it's a season of just complete new beginnings. I don't think we've had such kind of like ambiguity going into a season before, like this one. And yeah, I don't know, you won't know until, probably the end of final practice 3 next week, Friday. Well, by this time Friday, we'll probably know what the standings are. But I feel there's a lot of ambiguity, which I think is good. I feel like we don't really know who's going to be where. But yeah, as a F1 fan for a long time, I don't. Yeah, this is the first time where I'm thinking, you know what, this could either go really, really well, or this could be actually like generally diabolical, at least for the first couple races as F1 gets used to the new cars really. So yeah, I'm in the middle. I'm not a hater, but I'm not a lover at the same time.
Fair, fair. No, that's a good assessment on that. And obviously, for listeners and viewers, me and Rafa are on the same F1 chat. And just on last season and the season before, hence why I asked the last 2 years, you were very confident, especially 2 seasons ago now, you were confident in McLaren coming strong midway through
Mm.
the season. And not to say no one agreed with you, but everyone just kind of kept quiet on that. And like you could see the regs at that time kicking into effects for McLaren. And then now last season, you were also confident that Lando was going to win the title, even when he was like in third or second place, sorry, but quite behind Oscar Piastri. You were just confident that he was going to come through in terms of how he'd been racing. And so, do you see McLaren and Lando and even Oscar in that sense, like continuing where they left off from, or do you think there's going to be like a real title challenger for the team and drivers?
I feel the good thing about the F1 season now is it's very long, so you can, like for example, in McLaren in 2024, they didn't really hit the ground running until Miami, and then they went on to win the Constructors' Championship. So the good thing is about this season is it's very, very long. And I feel like you have to look at the season in segments. So you take the first batch of races. Maybe for some teams it'll be an extended preseason test, really, until we get to the middle part of the season where rubber needs to meet the road. Now get a full map of where everyone is. So I think the last 2 seasons, I think the back end of 2023, McLaren really, really improved. They had a shocking first half of 2022. 2023, they improved the regular podium scorers. The start of 2024 was a bit troublesome. They had to maneuver around quite a few of their staff. So, and then you can really see from the middle part of 2024 onwards that McLaren were superior, and that's the beauty of a rules like a new reg change. It can mean that newer teams, newer teams or older teams their success can change throughout a cycle. And we might see that. We might see Mercedes potentially, as they're rumored as to be the team in pole position, streak away with things for the first 2 years, and you might see a Ferrari or Red Bull start to catch up, because with this, it's all a science, and with a science, there's a general ceiling, and it's really depending who gets to that ceiling first, the first. So it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know about McLaren. They've had some issues in pre-season testing, especially in Bahrain. I think there was a couple of days where they did some minimal running. Lando seems a lot more happier with the car this time, rather than this time last year, where the change in suspension really, kind of hampered. He felt it was quite numb, but this year he seems a bit more upbeat, which I feel is good. And they had the McLaren, they have the Mercedes engine as well, which seems to be, the best engine on the grid in terms of power. Ferrari probably in terms of reliability, but in terms of power, they seem to be up there. So I don't know, but I don't know about McLaren specifically. I think they'll be in and around, probably definitely in the podium chase, potentially race wins, but just at the moment it seems like Mercedes and potentially Ferrari seem to be the two teams that everyone's talking about.
Rafa, I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan, not a Formula One fan, a Lewis Hamilton fan. So going into the season, obviously Lewis Hamilton had first year at Ferrari last year. What do you feel, and what do you think the aspirations for him this year, in a new year at Ferrari, kind of new regulations? As you said earlier, it's the driver that's going to matter. I feel like he's the best driver on the grid, him or Max Verstappen, just the driving styles. So how do you feel like Lewis Hamilton is going to perform this year, going forwards? And do you feel like it's going to be similar to last year, where there's a lot of problems within Ferrari and how it's kind of been for Ferrari for the last 10 years? Or do you feel like it's going to be more of a plain sailing kind of thing for him?
Ferrari is, for me, out of all the top teams, the most interesting in terms of how their preseason went, because I believe they actually only ran one engine during the whole preseason testing, so they didn't need to change. Other teams had to change engine for reliability, for wear, but Ferrari, I think, for I want to say the whole test, used the same engine. Which means that Ferrari seem to be the most reliable team on the grid. Now, reliability is quite boring, but especially in a new regs change, that's the number one thing you want. Because there's no point having been the fastest car and conking out at lap 15. So Ferrari seems to be interesting. On the Lewis Hamilton side, I think he put out a post a couple of days ago where he said, this is going to be an incredible season. He's really proud of the team. So from it, from his standpoint, it seems like he is in a much better space this year than last year. Because I think last year was his worst year in the sport.
I agree.
And it wasn't even a bad year. I think Aaron Rodgers says some of my years for other people, my worst years for other people are career years for others. And it wasn't a bad year. If another driver had that year, it'd be pretty okay. But for Lewis standards, it's not where he wants to be. But I feel like from this looking at it, I feel like he will have a better year this year. I feel that he is, in a better headspace. And yeah, it's just going to be a much smoother time for him.
I feel like a part of that. I feel like a part of that was due to Ferrari's strategies as well, because sometimes I feel like they've just got in their own way in terms of, they might not be going for a podium, but a fourth, fifth should be on the cards for them, but just somehow didn't happen.
But do you not feel like strategy for Ferrari has been a problem forever? As I feel like ever since I've been watching F1 anyway.
Yeah, but when Hamilton coming over, you think, all right, maybe they're going to do something about it, but they just did nothing about it.
Last
they didn't
year
change
was
anything, though.
They changed him now, but like...
think
Should have
last
been
year was
happening.
probably. I think Ferrari were lucky that they weren't actually their car wasn't as good as it was. Last year there was quite a few times. I think in Miami, if you remember, was it Miami, where I think Hamilton was on the better tire behind Leclerc, and they didn't invert them at all. There was times where Ferrari dropped the ball, but because the car wasn't nowhere near the McLaren or even Max and the Red Bull at certain points, nobody picked up on it. There's been a few changes as well on Lewis' side. Obviously, I think Adami has gone.
Yes.
So we don't know if that's going to improve or potentially could make it worse. We don't know. Because we
I
don't.
was on that. I was going to say, I remember seeing last week or so that I think Lewis said it's detrimental to his season at the fact that he was awaiting a permanent race engineer.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's been sorted because I've actually not looked this week, but I mean, a fortnight into the season started and not having a race engineer is
It's pretty
That
big.
is, yeah, that is alarm bells ringing.
I
That
mean,
is
I
definitely
think
alarm.
that sums up Ferrari though in like the last 10, 15 years maybe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, when I tell you guys I'm an Alonso fan, I know how that means. I know the pains of Ferrari, but I do feel Fred Vasseur, again, he was going for some problems in terms of the hierarchy last year because the car wasn't performing well. But it seems like there's like a breath of fresh air around it. The team now. They've got some new innovations. I don't know if you saw the upside down rear wing they've got. We don't know if that's going to be fast,
Yep.
but it shows it's not really about if it's going to work. It's more a case of they're thinking outside the box now. They're looking to make the car as as kind of smart as possible in terms of what they've got. So it's going to be interesting. I am actually really optimistic for Ferrari. I'm not gonna make my predictions just yet. I'll probably get onto that later. But yeah, I have strong feelings about Ferrari. Strong feelings about Leclerc and Hamilton. About how well they're going to do this year.
Yeah, because even with that rear wing, as well as that opening, they also got the front wing.
Yeah,
that opens up too.
Yeah. That it does look. It does look like they've taken their time with this car. And maybe they had a bad car last year because they again, most of the teams were sacrificing a lot of performance in 2025 for 2026. So it could be that's the reason, because I actually anticipated Ferrari to have a much stronger 2025 than they did, but maybe it's because they were diverting, their kind of resources to this year.
But is there a case with all this innovation they're adding to the car just might be worse? Because we know Ferrari have a track record.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's funny. I think, if I'm not mistaken, each time they've had a new regulation, well, I think the last 2 times, Ferrari have finished second in the constructors. I think might need to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I think they had a really strong 2017 with Vettel, didn't win the title, and then 2022 with Leclerc versus Max, which lasted half a season because the Red Bull went like that.
Yeah.
And Ferrari kind of just couldn't finish races. So yeah, I feel like it can do it. I could be wrong. There's a good chance that I am, and Ferrari are, blood brothers with Cadillac at the back. But
you've just put them at the back like that.
Yeah, they share the same engine anyway. So
blood brothers.
It could be.
That's dark. I can't lie.
No, you know that Italian American connection. 11th, 10th. At the back of the grid. But no, it could all go wrong. But it seems like from some trusted journalists that the vibe around Ferrari is a lot better than it was exactly this time 10 months ago, going into the Australian Grand Prix, which again is going to be I think it's going to be actually a very interesting race next week. I don't know what's going to happen. The race starts might be terrible. I don't know. We might have 10 cars finishing the race. I don't know what's going to happen next week, but it seems like Ferrari are in a good position.
Do you feel like, you spoke on Cadillac just there, do you feel like Cadillac are going to be anything to fear this year, or do you feel like they're actually just going to be at the back?
I feel like they're going to be at the back, But that I think they're okay with that. I think for them, this year's more about installation. It's more about doing the processes right, get into the races with all their gear, making sure they've got just doing the absolute basics is going to be a kind of success for them. Now, Cadillac are owned by General Motors. They can't be terrible for a long, long time because they're going to be putting a lot into this. General Motors are one of the most successful automotive groups on the planet. They're not just in this game to make numbers. They are here to win. But I feel like, and the same with Audi as well. I feel like the first bit is mainly about getting to the races, reliability, finishing races. So I don't think there'll be anything to fear. They might be an Aston Martin, every other race because Aston Martin don't seem to be doing anything at the moment. But it might be I think you'll see mostly them at 22nd and 21st on the grid.
I mean, they've got two experienced drivers in Perez and Bottas, so maybe they could help.
I think the most interesting thing coming out of the Bottas and Perez relationship, teammate, will mainly be, you'll probably see on Twitter, there'll be a lot of comparisons between the two because obviously one was Hamilton's teammate for the longest time and one was Max's teammate for the longest time. So there's going to be a bit of that coming up between the Verstappen and Hamilton fans. But that's probably going to be the most exciting thing. Cross comparing the two teammates to see who actually had the harder teammates when they were both in their pomp.
I mean, we know. Sorry, Jacob. Before you go on, we know that is Lewis that had the harder teammates.
Yeah.
But as you said,
Perez on the street track.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you not feel like Perez is one of the more underrated drivers on the track? Because I felt like he could do a lot with less, or could do a lot with. I feel like less help. But Max just happens to be like the only one that can actually drive that Red Bull. So I feel like he could do it. I feel like he's an underrated driver for me personally anyway. I feel like in an underrated car, he exceeds expectations.
And on that, Perez did make a few comments saying it's like crazy difficult being the second driver to Max because things are more or less tailored for Max
Of course.
and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think both things can be true. I think you can be underrated and you can also be up against arguably one of the greatest F1 drivers of all time. But also, from what I understand, I feel Red Bull did tailor the car to Max, not because it's just Max, but he seems to be able to drive the car closest to its potential in terms of Red Bull won't build the car around a driver per se. They'll build it to be the fastest it can. And it seems like Max can only handle that in terms of the Red Bull family. We'll see how Hadjar does this year. That's going to be very, very interesting to see. But yeah, I feel like Perez was underrated. He had some he's not really the guy to watch over a single lap, but he's a guy to watch over a stint potentially. He's a guy that, on his day, he can just pull out a result of nowhere on his day. We've seen that, but he's not, again, the fastest, or he's not a Bottas. A Bottas when on Hamilton's pomp, you'll challenge him for pole, and sometimes you'll beat him as well. That's what Bottas is about. When it comes to doing that for 60 or 70 laps, that's where Bottas tends to struggle. So we might see a case of where Bottas out-qualifies him, I don't know, 20 to like 4. But then when you look at race head-to-head, it might be more on Perez's side. We'll see. We don't know. But I feel like, anyway, Bottas is a better driver.
Oh, that's interesting you say that. I feel like Bottas is a better qualifying driver.
Yeah.
I don't want him in races. Do you get what I mean? Like, he's a perfect second driver to have because he's never going to really challenge your main man in terms of in race pace. Whereas Perez, I feel like he's got better race pace than Bottas has.
I feel all this is quite difficult to, unless you have the numbers to have a look and see. But I feel that Hamilton, I don't think there was much of a pace gap between Hamilton and Bottas. I mean, there was, but in terms of like when you actually compare him to Hamilton, it's not that bad at all.
Mhm.
But Hamilton just has a unique ability to drive a car metronomically, where, you know, lap after lap in a race, you don't see too much of a drop off, even though the tires might be hanging off the side of a car. Similar to Max, that's what Max has. But I feel like Bottas is just unfair that he was in the W11 at the same time as Hamilton. I mean, honestly, if you remove Hamilton from the equation, Bottas's career probably looks a lot better than it does. And he's probably still at Mercedes right now with George Russell. So, yeah, it's difficult, but I guess this is the year that we'll find out to see.
You mentioned your favorite driver. I don't know if the boys heard. Fernando Alonso.
I don't know why. I had a feeling it would be Fernando Alonso.
Fernando Alonso. This guy Rafa can write a thesis back in Fernando Alonso like no other in that F1 track. You and Roy, my gosh.
If you got time, I can run for you.
Nah, I hear it. From what I've seen of testing and from what I've read, not seen more so, what I've read, it's not really looking that promising for Aston Martin.
41
and your
laps
favorite driver,
41 laps completed for the testing for the couple of days that he had.
It's not looking good. And obviously, how many years now is it that Fernando Alonso hasn't won a race?
I knew this question was going to come up. I think it's now, it'll be 13 years in May. So yeah, it's a long time.
Tell us why Fernando Alonso is your favorite F1 driver of all time. We'll do rankings at some point, but like in terms of his racing style, his craft, everything.
He's my favorite racer of my lifetime. Of all time, that's a probably different question. But of my lifetime, I started watching F1 in I think my first race I ever watched was in 2004. So Schumacher was the guy. Obviously, I rated Schumacher. And then obviously in 2005, there was a new champion on the block, and that was Fernando. So I grew up, everyone hailing Schumacher, and then seeing this kid from Spain just, 2005 wasn't really a contest, but again, he beat him in machinery that wasn't probably as good over the course of the season. So yeah, I got swept into Alonso mania, and it's a hard club to leave, even though it has been 13 years of consistent pain. But yeah, I feel Alonso is he's a racer, but also I feel he is I think in terms of the way he thinks about the sport, how he kind of, thinks about things like overtaking, things like how he's one of those drivers that is just so metronomic. I just feel that for me personally, that is the best I've seen. And I think there's real 2 seasons that kind of really show that why. 1, 2006, and 2, 2012, where he didn't win the championship, but probably was the best driver on the grid that season, taking that Ferrari to where it was. He always seems to be the person that can get more than others out of a car. He kind of reminds me a little bit of LeBron 2018, 2016, taking teams that they were good, but putting them in places where probably they shouldn't be. That's the reason why I rate my sportsmen by what have you done with what you have in your position, and how have you been able to maximize that. And now, he's not won many races. Well, he's not won any races in 13 years, but he's always has put cars where they probably shouldn't be. Even at the age of, 44?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like that's my main reason, because again, everyone says F1 is an engineering sport. The best driver doesn't always win the championship. If there was, then the championships would look a lot different. So yeah, that's the reason why I rate him so highly.
Do you ever feel with Alonso And I don't know if this question has been posed to you or if I've seen an answer, but do you ever feel Alonso also made wrong career moves as to why he hasn't won as much as he should have in your eyes anyway?
I feel that yes, he's ultimately made wrong decisions in where to go. But if you actually look back and actually place yourself at the time and think, would I have done that? So would I have moved from, Renault to McLaren in 2006? I probably would have, because McLaren, again, with Ron Dennis at the helm, seemed to be, a team that wandered up, and they were. Now, the reason why that broke down was a combination of having a rookie teammate as good as Lewis Hamilton and also not feeling supported as much from Ron Dennis, and that kind of situation blew up. He moves back to Renault for a year or two. That one I don't really care about because that was more of a case of, moving, just getting out of the situation of McLaren, which he can place a lot of the blame at his door. Moving to Ferrari in 2010, I mean, that was a good career choice. Probably didn't yield what you wanted. It was a world championship, but that was a good career choice. Now, a lot of people say moving to McLaren, back to McLaren, wasn't. But I understand why he did it. Ferrari weren't going anywhere. He was looking for that title, and it just didn't work out. And they always say hindsight is such a wonderful thing. I think they were made with great intentions, but sometimes it doesn't work out. But some of them, the fault can be placed squarely at his door for some of them.
Do you think any Spanish drivers can overtake Alonso in your book into greatness for you personally? Or do you feel like he's just going to be the standalone? Do you feel like any Spanish drivers coming up can be the one?
It's difficult to say. And the reason why I would say there probably is just because when you look at the numbers, it doesn't look so lordy. It's not, he's a two-time world champion. I mean, that, separates him from a lot. But, I mean, there's guys with 4, 5, 6, and 7. Well, there's 2 of 7. Maybe should have done 1 with 8. Not gonna lie.
Not maybe.
But
definitely.
No, definitely, actually, definitely. That was a robbery. But anyway, we're gonna stay clear of that discourse. That's that topic's 3 podcasts alone. I think there's a chance potentially. F1's growing in Spain due to what Alonso, and now obviously you see people like Carlos Sainz coming into the sport as well. So on the face of it, just looking at the numbers on a board, potentially there can be, but I feel like it's a very much of a case of you kind of had to be there to see how great it was. In my opinion, there's just certain races and certain things he's done, winning from 11th place at his home GP in 2012. The fight back in Hungary 2006. There's so many magical moments that he's created, just like other great champions have, that won't be really quantified by, the numbers, as per se. He's not going to have the same stats as Verstappen or same stats as Hamilton, but in terms of ability, he's right up there. I do believe there could be a Spaniard in not the too distant future that can be more than a 2-time world champion and a 32-time race winner, for sure, definitely.
But the longevity has to count for something. The length of time you're driving the vehicle for, because we know to be in an F1 car is probably the hardest job in the world. There's the spots are few and far between, literally. So surely there's something for the length of time that he's driven in Formula One, and for people to still trust him at his age right now, where there is young and up and coming, exciting talents that can't get a seat. But guaranteed most years, Alonso has a seat somewhere. So that should count for something, I'd say, in the rankings.
And on top of that, he took a few years out of F1 to do driving elsewhere. Won I can't remember the exact one, but he won a championship.
It's as I say, I think he's an all-round racer, and I think to be going at this age, admittedly, he's not having the success that he once had, but still be going at this age with guys that are half his age, guys that he could have actually fathered mathematically. He could have actually fathered them. It's testament to one. It's not really about, for me, the actual physical side of it is impressive, but it's more the mental side of it. It's more the still waking up every morning to do the same things for, what is it, nearly 25 years now. Almost 25 years now. So yeah, that is definitely something. Again, guys like LeBron to be playing, even still being in the league at this age is insane. And
don't forget your guy Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I know. That's another guy we need to talk about as well. Yeah, still going at this age is insane. Yeah, it's definitely insane. But I feel like it will start to get rubbed out a bit by how sports now allows you to do that with the technologies with it. Footballers are playing for longer than ever. Modric plays for my club at 40 and looks like he's still 29.
Seriously, that's terrible though.
I feel like we'll talk about that. You better take that back. Yeah, I feel like it might start to look a bit mundane what he's doing, but we know it's not, because again, just sports technology now is insane. It just allows you to do things for so much longer.
But before we move off this F1 topic, from one Spaniard to another Spaniard, let's look at this Williams team. Do you think, that the progress that they made last year and them halting their progress to focus on this year, do you think they're going to see any improvements?
Williams is, for me personally, it's one of the saddest stories of preseason, because the progress they made last year was fantastic. I think that's the highest they finished in near enough a decade, really, or half a decade. I think. I think they finished, was it 5th or 6th? I think. Yeah, so it's really sad to see. I expect them to be, much, much higher in terms of kind of the rankings of preseason. That they could turn up to a track next week and win by 50 seconds, and we could, I could look very, very stupid. But yeah, they switched to development very, very early. And everyone thought, right, they're going to have a Merc engine next year. They're going to be up there, closer to more of their glory days in the past. But it seems like the eyes were too big for their stomach. Williams aren't the team that they were 30 years ago. They've not saying they've been left behind by the former rivals like Ferrari and McLaren, but they kind of have from a financial standpoint. It's going to take them a long time to get that scale up to that. So that probably the eyes are too big for their stomach. But again, the good thing for Williams is the season is very long. These are probably one of the teams that, are going to have to take the first couple of races as an extended test to figure out what's working well, what's not working well. Mainly probably to shed weight as well, because a lot of these cars will be coming in overweight. So it's probably going to be the first 6 races as an extended test for Williams, which is fine. For the first half of the year, the new reg set, that's okay, because you can make up places quite rapidly, just as McLaren did in 2024. But yeah, it seems like they're a bit behind, but I wouldn't say they're the worst we've seen. They're not probably as bad as Aston Martin or as bad as Cadillac look. So otherwise, quite underwhelming. It's something that they can sort out.
I mean, just before we move off Williams, we saw signs. Second half of the season, especially to the latter part, he came off strong. Well, credit to him, he capitalized on people's mistakes and stuff.
Sainz is your boy, isn't he? That's your...
I've always never minded Sainz.
No, never mind. I thought that was your boy, no?
The track, it was me that started Carlitos, but I don't think people clocked.
Yeah, exactly.
I did that to troll everyone that hated him, because I was like, I don't really dislike him, innit? So I was like, someone has to back him. You get me? But yeah, he came strong towards the end of the season. How many podiums did it? He got one.
I
Definitely got
think he
one
got
podium.
two. I think he got one in
Two, weren't it?
Azerbaijan and one in Qatar.
Yeah.
I think.
So
So
again,
yeah,
like you
yeah.
said, maybe it's the start of the season will be an extended testing for some of these teams, Williams being one of them. Two more quick things before we move off F1. Your driver, you may have said it already in terms of Lewis, but your driver and your potential team to watch for this season, who you think can shock in any capacity, and then your top 5 drivers of all time before we move off F1.
So the team that I will be looking out for, and it's a team that I actually don't really like. Alpine are a team that I feel like are going to be kind of. They're not going to trouble the top 3 or 4, but I feel they're going to be a strong, consistent midfield runner. I feel like Pierre Gasly is a solid midfield driver. He's not the flashiest, but he's going to give you 7 out of 10s most weekends. As long as well, he's their French driver. He's going to be their flagship driver. Colapinto, I think there's some raw talent there. I think he does need to be polished a bit more, but that comes with time anyway. So yeah, I feel like Alpine are going to be a team that I'll keep my eye on for some surprise results. If I was going to pick a midfield team to win a race this year, I would pick Alpine because I feel like one, they've got the engine, and again, Alpine have had the history with Renault of winning. So winning is not foreign to them. They've done it before.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna pick out Alpine for the surprise.